Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to International Affairs broadcasting live from the Dhaka's Gulshan studio. My name is Shamsul Alam Panto and we are going to have a lovely program here today. But before I start the discussions, I want to introduce everyone on the show today. We have Ms. Shaika Laulak, who's of course lecturer and coordinator of the Department of English at Bangladesh University. I welcome on the program. And it is very good to see you after such a long time.
Thank you.
Of course, we have our geopolitical analyst and correspondent joining us from Washington, D.C., Ambassador Norman Floyd Barnes. A very good morning to you, Ambassador. I want to begin with you. We have breaking news. 25% tariff is being ordered by U.S. President Donald Trump on any country that does business with Iran. I believe that this is coming very latest as the protests have been going on. Almost 648 lives have been claimed, and of course the two sides are going through multiple courses of narratives. I want to start with Norman Floyd Barnes. What is your assessment? A 25% tariff and also the crumbling of the economy of Iran and its currency. I want to understand what is your observations.
Greetings. Greetings today from Washington, D.C. This morning we started out with a 25% tariffs imposed by the Trump administration on any country that is supporting and involved with this Iranian issue, the protests. This will have a severe impact again on the people of Iran, who's already suffering and dealing with their turmoil. But also the other countries, China is expressed their concern. Russia, even the UAE is involved in this. So right now, it's again we having more problems with the trade and commerce as a result of these conflicts, and at the same time, our president is scheduled to talk with the ministers in Iran regarding the suppression efforts being done by them on this protest. The numbers has reached so far. The press is releasing numbers of at least 646 deaths. But the morgues says a different story. The morgues are full. The outside of the morgues have body bags, and the numbers could go up into the thousands as we get to the story. But we won't know until the government let news services in the country. Right now, communications and the internet has been restricted from the outside world. I guess in an attempt to control this countrywide protest. Here in the United States, we have our own issues, of course, but right now the state of Minnesota has filed a lawsuit against the Trump administration regarding the immigration efforts made on that state. So that is in place, and at the same time, the Trump administration has filed criminal charges against the chair, Jerome Powell, the Federal Reserve Chair, regarding his inability to lower the interest rates set on by he's not at odds with the president. So there's some issues regarding the money he's spending for the rebuilding of the new facilities. So we have a lot of stuff, like I said, another day, another hot mess, and the world is continuing to evolve and deal with issues regarding the issues going on in Iran and the Middle East.
I must thank Norman Floyd Barnes for his extensive lookout and overwatch over the news articles and, of course, the events that take place not only in America but, of course, around the world. I want to come into the studio and ask a question to Ms. Shaika. We know that we have the deaths have been rising. First it was 400, actually first it was 100, and then it was 400, then 500. Now we have 648 deaths according to various agencies, and the US trying to crumble their economy. Any country that does business with Iran, when they will come to do business with America, will face a 25% tariff. So that is the barrier, that is what the United States of America has imposed on Iran. And not only so, just before a couple of days ago, last week, we've seen the arrest, the capture, the kidnapping. If you would, there's many terms I could use out of the dictionary, but it was very aggressive, it was cruel. They have captured the president of Venezuela, Nicolas Maduro, and it has caused a power vacuum throughout the entire world. I want your observations regarding Iran and the situation in Venezuela.
Thank you. First of all, I would like to thank for having me here once again. Now we are actually in a turmoil. The world is in actually a turmoil where we are observing the extreme power politics of the United States. And Iran was not an exception to be a victim. It was in the target of the United States way before than the recent issue. Okay, and Venezuela, Donald Trump has always claimed that he wants to have all the oils from in the entire world, that he wants to own Greenland, that he wants to actually just, it's not to colonize, but to actually keep the power in the hand. As far as Iran is concerned, Iran is one of the targets of United States, and it's not for the past couple of years. I would say it was way before the Islamic Revolution that took place in 1979. Because if we look at the Islamic Revolution in 1979, before the revolution, Iran was in a mess. There were situations of hunger, there were poverty, there were famine, there were corruption, and many more things. Everyone thought that after the revolution, Iran will be turned out into a new leaf. But Iran turned out to be a new name of captivation, because people newly captivated themselves. The Iranian government, that is the government of Khamenei from the 1979, and the way people have been captured, they are not even able to get out of that surroundings even now. Okay, and that's where the United States always eye to take advantage of the conflicts. If you look at not Iran, not Venezuela, Venezuela's abduction of Maduro, it's just a recent issue. But the United States government were interfering way long before, because there were intense situations, there were conflicts among the countries.
Right.
If you look at Iran, how this situation escalated to this far, it was not because of the intervention of United States, but because of their own situations.
Right.
If you look at that, there are over 40% inflation going on in Iran. Why people and protesters have come out to the street? Because they are unable to meet the daily needs. See, from time and time, the external powers, that is the West powers, that is the European allies, and many have tried to break Iran. But no external forces were actually able to exercise this break in Iran. It's the break, it's the drift among the people. It's the people who, if you look at, you will look the demographic dividend of Iran, that is the 60% of Iranian population are young.
Right.
So they didn't witness any revolution, they didn't witness the corruptions, they didn't witness any ideology, they didn't actually were a part of all the, the changes. They are the change. They want to bring the change here about. That's why they have come back in the street. And how the protest has been intensified, it is because of the ICE who killed Good.
Rene Good in
Rene Good.
Yes.
Now there is a slogan in Iran that is ICE left for good. Leave IC for good. See, a very allegorical term that we very often encounter in world politics.
Right.
So it's not just about the interference of the United States, it's about the internal conflict that the Iranians are facing, the inflation, the costly life expenses, that is their basic needs. They are being deprived of their basic needs. So it's no external forces are needed now to create a drift in Iran. It's the drift, it's the problems, it's the conflict of the government, of the people itself.
Correct.
But if we witness that, see, there were such mass protests in the Iran before. If you look at in the 2009 election, if you look at in 2010, if you look at 2019, there were way more revolutions, there were way more protests.
Right.
In back past 3 years ago, when Masa Amini was killed,
The entire country was forced towards
entire
protesting.
country was on the street. More than 20,000 people were arrested. More than 500 people were killed. However, Iran was successfully managed the situation, and Iran is going to do that now. If you look at the news of today's morning, that Iran is planning to settle down, and Iran has not taken a drastic step against the common people. It has taken the minimal step
Right.
to control the people. Why? Because Iran is taking lessons from the countries, from the revolutions around it.
Well, of course, in not only so, in the last 2-3 years, we've seen Gen Z hosted protests
Yes.
all over the world. But this time around, it wasn't the Gen Z, it was those who were trying to make a living or trying to breaking bread.
Yes.
It started in Grand Bazaar, and people were complaining
yes,
about
from-
the $1 would be equivalent to a 1 million
Million
real. So
reals,
that
yes.
really caused an issue for those people who are day-to-day earners. I want to come to Norman Floyd Barnes. You know, the result of 2 weeks of protesting, it accumulates to the fact of the regime or the Ayatollahs controlling Iran, a theocracy. They are losing out on legitimacy. That means the people are not in favor of their ruling or their support. So that is the stage and that's the scenario. Do you think that the regime may collapse in the coming days, even after the protests coming down after 648 deaths? Norman Floyd Barnes.
Thank you for the question. But this protest, this demonstration, this uprising is different. It's different because the government of Iran has decided to cut off the internet, cut off communication, so there's very little communication between the cities. So right now we are experiencing an act of the people without leaders, without leadership, without communication with their neighbors. So these fragmented uprising are basically more of a neighborhood community type of thing, and it's going to have a prolonged effect because one city, one group does not know what the other group is doing per se. But the government is trying their best to suppress their tactics and how they're dealing with the people. But as you know, the news will get out. It will come out. There's ways to get things out or through the underground, and it will. And when the story breaks, it's not going to be very well for the current regime. As you say, the countries are very young. They talk to their friends. There are people around the world. There are people here in the United States. There's people in other parts of the world. They have communication means. Cutting down the internet means they have to go to the underground system. So the underground system is going to basically connect these fragmented groups to the point where they will not tolerate, the new generation will not tolerate established norms and established guidelines put on in the past, and military and force is never the answer. It will kill people, but it will not kill the spirit. The spirit is the issue we're dealing with right now. Quality of life issues. That's what we're dealing with. They believe that they should have the same quality of life as their neighbors, their friends, their college roommate, their neighbor. So they're not going to stand for anything less. So the regime will have to adjust itself or reassess itself, or it will resolve. It may not be today, but tomorrow, but they cannot stand this pressure. The country is basically shut down because the people are not happy. They are not happy with this with the administration. They're not happy with how things are going, and they're not happy with the way they're living. And they know because of the world right now with intelligence and communication that they should be living better, and they don't understand why the government is not allowing people to do the best they can.
Of course, a very wonderful, outstanding observation from Norman Floyd Barnes. But ladies and gentlemen, it is the first segment has ended. It is time to go for a short break. But after the break, there shall be more issues we can discuss. Do stay with us.
সারা দেশে লাখো মানুষের কঠোর কর্মতৎপরতা ও নিষ্ঠায় এসএ পরিবহন পার্সেল অ্যান্ড কুরিয়ার সার্ভিস এখন 16 কোটি মানুষের হাতের নাগালে। দীর্ঘ 30 বছর ধরে বিশ্বস্ততা ও দ্রুততার সাথে সেবা দেওয়ায় গ্রাহক সেবায় এখন শীর্ষে। বাংলাদেশে গ্রাহক সেবার সাফল্যের পর এসএ পরিবহন পার্সেল অ্যান্ড কুরিয়ার সার্ভিস এখন বিশ্ব বাণিজ্য কেন্দ্র সিঙ্গাপুরে। আপনার যে কোনো পণ্য সিঙ্গাপুর থেকে বাংলাদেশে বুকিং এর জন্য যোগাযোগ করুন। এসএ পরিবহন প্রাইভেট লিমিটেড, লজিস্টিক্স পার্সেল অ্যান্ড কুরিয়ার সার্ভিস, 22 রবার্টস লেন, সিঙ্গাপুর 218302। ফোন 0065 629 24900। বাংলাদেশ থেকে সিঙ্গাপুরে পণ্য বুকিং এর জন্য যোগাযোগ করুন ঢাকা সহ দেশের যে কোনো 80টি শাখা কেন্দ্রে। এসএ পরিবহন পার্সেল অ্যান্ড কুরিয়ার সার্ভিস, আপনার সেবা সব সময়।
Welcome, Grand Palace Hotel, Dhaka. A majestic lobby blending timeless elegance with modern design. Experience 5-star comfort in
Welcome back to International Affairs. Of course, we are joined by Ms. Shaika Laulak in the studio, as well as Norman Floyd Barnes joining us from Washington, D.C. Up until now, we were talking about the Iran situation, how the U.S. and Iran are not seeing eye to eye. Abbas Araghchi has said that they are open to discussion, but not open to anyone trying to dictate the terms of how they are going to run Iran. This was the comment made by the foreign minister of Iran. I want to come to other issues as well. Let's have a look at Greenland. I want to talk about Greenland because it has huge economical as well as geopolitical significance. The mineral rich, the resources rich island, world's largest island as far as I know in that hemisphere, is full of resources which is looking to be exploited by outside actors, namely the United States of America. And because of that, I want to have the first question to Norman Floyd Barnes. What are the latest updates regarding Greenland, and do you think that this would cause the rupture of NATO if anything were to happen? Would there be any kind of monetary purchase of the island? What is the movement and how is this going to go about? What are your views? Norman Floyd Barnes.
Again, thank you. It appears that the issue of Greenland is not going away. Historically, the United States has been interested in Greenland since World War II, even before that. It is viewed as a strategic port location for the United States in their military, I guess, defense of the continent. It is the closest missile. The distance between there and Russia is the shortest distance from that location. It also houses our space exploration and air uh, space defenses. So it holds a lot of keys. And also because of this location, it's a thoroughfare for trade and commerce between China, Russia, and it cuts down on the travel of goods and services if that route is used. So the United States is very interested in controlling that area, but there's other issues going on. There's raw minerals deep beneath the surfaces, and there's potential oil also. So that's a concern. And in the viewpoint of the U.S. government, it should be part of their Western sphere influence, and it allows the United States to feel more secure regarding the protection and, of course, the crossroad for trade and commerce as we move forward to the next level in terms of the transition. China and Russia is utilizing these areas. Russia has a submarine fleet and deep military resources in the area. So they have well embedded in that area. China has interest in it from afar because of the trade routes and the space exploration and the connections for air defenses. So this is something that is not going away. Hopefully there'll be some type of agreement. We already have military bases there. We already have access in the country, so it's not about us getting there. It's about controlling the entire region.
Right.
We have resources there. We always have military stations there. So now we are looking in terms of the future, in terms of what's going on globally. And this is a strategic point where something will be done. I do not know how it's going to be done, but the military option was always on the table, as the president has the ability to do that. But right now, this negotiation, even with the negotiated part, it is fracturing the relationship with the United States and NATO. Denmark, the other countries are now looking at this as part of the separation, the Western sphere, the sphere of influence from Europe. So there will be issues regarding this, the outcome. I do not think the United States and Europe will survive this relationship that's going on. It may not happen today, it may not happen tomorrow, but the U.S. intent is very clear that they desire to basically maintain and control everything in the Western Hemisphere. And Europe will have to reevaluate their relationship and what they're going to do for Europe.
Of course, it is quite important for us to also understand that this fight is not only between the US and Greenland, it is actually a fight regarding the Arctic, who shall be in control of the Arctic region. And of course, there is some interesting news I want to ask Norman Floyd Barnes. Due to time restrictions, a Republican bill was introduced to authorize the president to take measures necessary to acquire or assert control over Greenland. And in response, a Democratic bill was filed to block any such attempt, aiming to protect Greenland's sovereignty by restricting federal funds for takeover efforts. The two sides of the American political spectrum are at it, and this time it's not a policy making for inside the nation, it is outside the nation, and they are taking a jab at one another. I want to have a viewpoint regarding the internal policy making regarding Greenland, once again from Norman Floyd Barnes.
Yes, the internal struggles here is that Congress, the overall United States, the people of the United States do not understand this plan. the issues that, yes, we've been trying to do since World War II. Why is the emphasis on it today? What's the urgency? Why now? What are you not telling us? You know, we have an issue right now of great mistrust. What the government says one thing, they're doing something else. What else is going on that we don't know about? So right now, there's going to be a lot of pushback, a lot of concerns. We have issues here in the United States, the immigration issues. We have issues with, again, putting food on the table, quality of life issues. But we are meddling with other countries, trying to annex additional stuff that we can't manage what we're doing now. We have enough to deal with here in the States. That's what the people think. We're not getting our needs met, but you want to go out and get more problems, more issues, and they just can't justify spending this kind of money, resources, and efforts. Hopefully not military efforts that we are going to acquire Greenland. And the people in Greenland, they don't want it. They don't want this annexation. They don't see any benefits from it. But there must be a reason and there's a plan, but that plan has not been disseminated through Congress, through the people of the United States to the point where they can digest it and understand how it affects their day-to-day life, how would it improve their quality of life. Right now, it's something that the Trump administration feels is valuable to them, but that doesn't translate down to the person day-to-day on the street.
I must thank Norman Floyd Barnes for his take on this matter, of course describing how the Congress and all the other parties inside United States legislation feels about this. I want to come into the studio, Ms. Shaikh. Now, I want to ask you a question. You were hearing Norman Floyd Barnes on his remark regarding Greenland. We understand that Greenland is an island full of natural resources, minerals, which are quite important, quite required by the United States of America. I have to say it this way, because in the recent times we have seen how they are turning into the modern pirates of this new world order. The question I want to ask you, Greenland says that it shall not be accepting any U.S. takeover under any circumstances, because that would be breaking the NATO framework that they share with Denmark. The Kingdom of Denmark affirmed its status, saying that Greenland, they're going to be administering Greenland to their regard. I want to ask you the question, what is your take? You see, last year we were doing a commentary, we were doing this program, and we did not realize that the notion was towards US and Greenland, US and Venezuela, even though there was some news agencies reporting about this fact. So I want to understand this sudden shift towards Greenland and the Western Hemisphere. The entire world is now referring to US President Donald Trump and his activities as a method of uniting the Western Hemisphere across the continent with China and Russia. So I want to understand how you felt about Greenland.
Okay, thank you for the question. So, there is a saying that Donald Trump, especially not the United States government, Donald Trump is he is predictably unpredictable.
Right.
Why last year when we were having this conversation, why didn't we focus on Greenland, Venezuela, or other things? Because it was how they portrayed that where their focus are. It was on tax impositions on China, it was on Iran, it was on the Middle East, etc., etc. But why now Greenland, why now Venezuela? Because for the Trump administration, it's high time to strengthen their security forces. And where is Greenland and Venezuela, both of the countries concern mainly the security measures of America. Why? Let me explain. First of all, Venezuela, let's come to Venezuela, that is, it's a neighboring country. Then why Trump administration is eyeing on its neighbor? Why it's actually targeting its neighbor? If you look at Venezuela is the #1 country in the world that produces heavy crude oil.
Correct.
However, the first customer or the first buyer of this crude oil, who is the buyer? It's China, it's Russia. And as Venezuela exports most of its oil to China and Russia, so United States is not able to make this benefit to have this heavy crude oil as their resource, and that's why they have to go to Canada, and they are spending more. It's costly to actually have oil from Canada rather than Venezuela, but they are unable to extract the resources as there is a influence of China and Russia in the American hemisphere. See, China has invested $18 billion in this crude oil, and Russia as well. And not in just this crude oil, they are actually expanding their political sphere, their economical sphere to the American sphere. That's why the Trump administration felt the necessity to actually have this propaganda against Venezuela, because to warn them, to control them, and to secure themselves. Because if it was seeming that it was slipping out of their hand, if their own neighboring country is slipping out of their hand, then who is there that can the Trump administration gets support from? This is the one concern. Another concern, again in terms of Venezuela, is the de-dollarization.
Right.
Why they are actually, yes, it is okay that China and Russia is buying, but what is the main point of this whole oil issue? It is the de-dollarization. If you look at the export rate of Venezuela, that it's exporting in Chinese yuan and Russian ruble, it's oil. So it's actually de-dollarizing.
Right.
The value of the dollar is actually it was on the declining state in the American hemisphere. So if there is de-dollarization, then who will actually overpower this world economy? It might turn out to be the yuan, or it might turn out to be the ruble, but the American government cannot afford this de-dollarization. So it's not just all about the oil concern, it's also about this de-dollarization. It's about the power exercise in the entire world.
Right.
See, through this abduction of Maduro, through this claim that we need Greenland, through this aggressive remarks on Iran, what is the point of view of Americans administration?
That is a very beautiful question, and I want to ask this very question to Norman Floyd Barnes. We understand that these countries, the BRICS nations, Russia as well as China, are of course doing trade in their own currency. And as you were hearing in us in the studio, what is the mission, what is the goal? Is 2026 going to be the year that the next world war is going to be unleashed? I want your closing remarks, as well as you were hearing our comment from in the studio. I want your answer to this very question. Norman Floyd Barnes.
Thank you again for this. This is a very intriguing question. It has many different layers, but the overall issue is economics. Basically, the emergence of BRICS. BRICS is emerging. Even though there's very little conversation on the Western Hemisphere about the impact, it's having a severe impact. And we're seeing the results of that impact. The BRIC movement is global. It's starting to go. We're looking at minimum options and alternative to the petrodollar. That is not going to be good for the Western Hemisphere, particularly the United States, in terms of purchasing power, debt renewal, and making money, and to the theme of making America great again. Well, if you have options you're going to go where it is cheaper. China makes everything. China makes everything cheaper. China makes more of everything. So if you do not have to spend your money, spend your currency with the dollar, and you can get more bang for your bucks with another currency, let's say the BRICS currency. I'm talking theoretically, the BRICS currency. Why not do that? That is an additional balance in the power. So if there's an alternative, that alternative may be the favor of people buying governments, business under the BRICS system, in opposed to the current dollar system. That will basically shatter the U.S. economy. And that's something that the Trump administration is preparing itself for because it will be a devastator in terms of our economy and how we do things. Right now, you can buy things cheaper from overseas, even with the tariffs, than you can buy here. So now you have an alternative, and now we're getting into the digital age, digital currency. Everything is transitioned over to digital. It really doesn't matter. You can convert, if you have options, you can convert how you're going to buy and pay for things on dollars, yen, or whatever you want to do. You're going to choose the one that's best for you. And it may not be to the advantage of the U.S. That is a problem for the government. That is a problem for what the United States is trying to do in terms of make America great again. With options, people will take the best option. So there's strategic areas going on. We use the military might to impose certain things, to make deals, to make people, as I say, twist their arm to impose their will to influence people to the point of staying with the petrodollar.
Right.
But as we move, the BRICS movement is rising and the alternative is apparently coming clear. So part of having the spear is to isolate the different spears, is to isolate some portions of the world so
Right.
that they can ensure their existence. We have to ensure that we can exist because everything is evolving right now. As we, like I said, we're moving to a new digital age, and the petrodollar is going to basically mitigate itself, dilute itself.
I want to thank Norman Floyd Barnes, who was talking about the petrodollar. Of course, due to time restrictions, he has been disconnected. Of course, I want to end this segment by saying something very important. China wants the yuan to become a global reserve currency, and that ambition is directly tied to its rivalry with the dollar of the United States. And right now, this is one of the most important silent wars in geopolitics. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for a short break.
Suites and rooms, sophisticated fine dining restaurant, crystal clear swimming pool for ultimate relaxation, modern gym and serene spa for well-being, perfect venue for corporate events, weddings and parties. Seamless and secured, elegant and eye-catching design. Indulge, relax, discover the first 5-star chain hotels in Bangladesh. Grand Palace Hotel Dhaka, 22 Kakrail, Dhaka, Bangladesh.
Welcome to Grand Club at Mirpur 10 Dhaka. Elegant spa and wellness facility for ladies and gents. Play pool and snooker in international standard billiard zone.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the last segment of International Affairs. We are joined in the studio with Ms. Shaika Laulak, and we had Norman Floyd Barnes joining us from Washington, D.C. I want to get into the studio and change the topic of the discussion towards focusing on our region, South Asia, if you would call it Central Asia. So today, we are exactly 1 month away from a very popular referendum and the national elections that is set to be held just on February 12th next month. The time is very near as we have recent issues. We have political parties gearing up for their campaigns, how to get the confidence of the people. And not only so, there are regional crises that affect Bangladesh ever since 2018. We have over 1.6 million Rohingyas who are living in the state of Cox's Bazar, and recent news indicates that a Bangladeshi girl was injured by a stray bullet amid border clashes in Myanmar. So I want to understand, given the timing of the entire situation, what is your overview, especially because we have an election that's coming up?
Okay, thank you. Okay, see, this is where not just Bangladesh but every nation is leading towards. That is the unrest, that is the conflicts, the border conflicts. How? It was accelerated by the United States because they crossed their borders and actually tried to exercise power in other countries. And that's what happened, that they actually came out of their bubble, their hemisphere, and now it has actually given the strength to other countries to come out of their bubble and actually cross the borders and do some unrest around them. And that's what is the example of the Myanmar issue right now, that an army or someone actually killed or shot a girl of Bangladeshi Rohingya on the border. So how they are actually able to cross this border line? Because they actually got the courage from this recent issue. And Bangladesh, if you look at, Bangladesh is like, it was like, and it's now more likely to be a sandwich, even more than before. Why? Because it is associated with, bordered with India, it is associated with China in terms of their business, import,
Right.
export, and it is associated with the Middle East, with the Russia, with the European allies as well. So we have allies with the United States, because United States is the market of our ready-made garments, and we import most of our things from China.
Right.
And we are actually neighbored by India, and India is also on the list of United States which are on the verge line to cross their demands. That is, if you look at the news of yesterday or day before tomorrow, that yes, India is actually exporting oil from Russia, but there is a set line
Right.
by the United States that if India crossed that line of actually buying oil from Russia, then US is likely to impose 500% tax on India. And if that happens, it will burden Bangladesh, because we share borders from the three hemispheres of our country. So Bangladesh is all over side. Bangladesh will be impacted, it will be overpowered, it will be burdened economically. Again, we have a chance of a higher inflation. Again, it will very likely to hamper our remittance, which is a power of our economic cycle of the country, and as well as such issues with Myanmar or other neighboring countries, because they are getting this power, they are getting this courage to actually cross their lines. Why? Because the most powerful country is crossing its line. So who are we? We are just the minimals, we are just the tiny ones. So it doesn't matter if they cross, because the main power is crossing its borderline.
Right.
Okay, so it's very likely that given the month of election, it might have changed the dimensions of our election, because people are very much looking forward to this referendum and election, because as they have earned it with their sweat and blood after this July revolution. So there is a possible shift of the mindset of the commoners.
Right.
As this is very much guided, this is very much actually shaped by the Gen Z. And Gen Z are the ones who are in the street, who are in the protest of everywhere in the world right now. So how it will impact the Gen Z, how Bangladesh is going to actually react, and it's actually going to actually, you know, just stuffed up in all those world political situations. Time will tell actually how it happens.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for your contributions and your commentary for this very program on international affairs. I thank you for appearing here today. I must also thank Norman Floyd Barnes, who had joined us from Washington, D.C. I really enjoy his attendance as well. I want to thank our viewers and our production team that has been supporting this show from the beginning of last year. And that's it for today, ladies and gentlemen. I shall be back here on the program tomorrow with exciting news updates. Do stay with us as we are going to head for our special bulletin at 3 p.m.